I knew I was going to catch him off guard. See, he's not even back.
He was half. I guarantee you, he was expecting the 2-hour intro that we always do.
Nope. Well, welcome everybody to the 5280 podcast. It's been 2 weeks, man. We took a vacation, and boy, did I need it.
Vacations are always good.
I was exhausted. I didn't want to do it no more. See, now he's just walking in like nothing matters, just jumping right in, like a 20-second intro.
I'm used to a 2-minute intro.
If you'd gotten the memo that I didn't tell you that we're not doing that 2-minute intro anymore.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now he's got the memo.
Yeah, but no, I was just welcoming everybody back to the
noted
podcast after our 2-week vacation, and it's been a crazy 2 weeks.
Just a little bit.
The Broncos have been adding people. The NFL's been adding people. The network's been adding podcasts. It's nuts. We got Cam and Mainly on the network now, and Boggins is back with Pat Coyote, and they're going live on Thursday now. It's just been crazy.
Yeah,
I called it our own free agent signing period, so
that's what it is.
Yeah, mixed in with the actual free agency period, right?
Yeah.
What's up, Avatar? What's up, Ray?
You can't gloss over Ray's comment.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, he literally singled me out.
He bags on Cam. We never take an opportunity to just let that slide.
D-Generation X. Hope everybody had a good day. Thanks, Glenn, for the birthday wishes yesterday. Wait,
yeah,
it was your birthday yesterday? Why didn't you tell me?
Yes, it was.
Happy birthday, Generation D-Generation.
D-Generation X.
How did that go again?
Like that. that's how it goes. But yeah, it's been pretty nuts for the Broncos. So we kick off free agency, and the first 3 people that we signed.
They made a few moves.
McGlinchey, offensive tackle from the Niners. He gets 5 years for $87.5 million, $50 million guaranteed.
The bag.
Now, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about how McGlinchey compares to Cam Fleming. Is McGlinchey a better option at right tackle than Cam Fleming? Because Cam Fleming was not bad. I'll give him that.
Well, considering Cam would cost us about $3 million, and we just committed to McGlinchey for $87.5. I'm going. I'm hoping. I'm hoping McGlinchey is all that he cracks up to be. He doesn't get a whole lot of respect. That was kind of the disappointing thing, is that when they picked him, there was a lot of backlash as to why some of the other guys had been like Caleb McGarry, would be ignored. So
there's a really good film study on YouTube. I can't remember who actually did the video, but Sarah Bettinger, obviously editor, writer over at Prom the Orange and stuff, threw it over into our chat that we have, our Slack chat. I'll have to give it to you guys, but like, he kind of talked a little bit about how McGlinchey does struggle a little bit in pass pro, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, if Sean Payton plus Zach Strief believe in you to give you that kind of deal, that's good enough for me. But I mean, the thing is that the Broncos have made it it's very evident that the identity that they want is to run the football. And McGlinchey is one of the best run blocking right tackles in the NFL. Like, he is a really, really good run blocking tackle. And I'm kind of curious to know just overall with the fit, and with his athleticism, he is very athletic, how he would kind of fit within this wide zone system. I mean, like, because especially with, Garrett Bowles too. I mean, they're both pretty athletic. So I'd be kind of curious to know what's the overall fit here. And clearly, the Broncos may feel like they are comfortable giving him that kind of contract. Because, I mean, like, and I get the fans' overall reaction just entirely, because this is, let's be honest, this is like literally the biggest contract that the Broncos will have handed out to a right tackle since the Juwan James PTSD. So like I get it,
Jeez.
but I mean like
Why?
but you knew it was going to come out eventually. Like
No.
you knew the name Juwan James was going to be surfacing eventually.
Joe Mama James. Okay, so going from Mike McGlinchey, you also have offensive guard. I'm just going to gloss over that. Offensive guard Ben Powers signed a 4-year, $52 million deal and includes $28.5 million guaranteed. Now, Ben Powers is one that I am very excited for. I think he will be a fantastic fit in place of Dalton Risner. And don't get me wrong, love Dalton Risner. Huge fan of Dalton Risner.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't play quite up to snuff. Didn't play horrible. But Ben Powers, I think, is one of those, pillars now in the offensive line. Like, he's going to be the guy, him and Miners, that you build it all around.
Yeah.
And watching his clips, they're all over the place, and seeing him pull and rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. This guy is
rumbling, bumbling, stumbling.
He's going to be a force to reckon with. I'm excited about the changes that they made on this line. Oh, go ahead, Cam.
No, he's just an absolute mauler. I mean, like he just is such a. It's one of those things, like you just turn on tape of him and you just enjoy every minute when you watch it, because he's just that kind of player. And I mean, like, and of all the signings, I mean, like, of the offensive lineman, that was the one consistent, right, that a lot of people were really excited about. And Powers, obviously, in his name, is a very powerful guard, But yeah, to what you were saying about Risner, I mean, obviously he's been nothing but, genuine with us, and the time that we have spent with him, we certainly wish him all the best, but there was times, and you said it, that he was kind of struggling, in stuff, even past Mike Munchak, and so we certainly wish him all the best. But one more time again, just another evidence of that they are wanting to just run the daylights out of the football. And it's not just Powers and McGlinchey, it's some of the other moves that they even made as well.
Yeah, and one of those moves which has absolutely nothing to do with the run game or the offensive line or nothing. The third one is Jarrett Stidham, quarterback, comes from the Raiders, 2-year, $10 million contract, $5 million guaranteed. I said we signed 3. I had to give the 3. So we started with those 3. But going into so before we hit the running game, I did want to ask a question, because we've been complaining over the last 2 years about how the center position has been negatively affecting the guards, which I believe is one of the problems we had with Dalton Risner. It's one of the issues we had with Graham Glasgow. It got a little bit better when Glasgow moved over to center, but now Glasgow's gone. He's in Detroit, and we still have Cushenberry at center. Are we planning on making a move at center, or are we drafting, or are we sticking with Cushenberry? Like, what's going on with center?
I think that they are planning on signing a free agent, as the clock ticks and the pricing goes down a little bit. I can't imagine that they're not going to sign one. Wouldn't surprise me if they picked up a center in the draft as well, but it's nobody's talking, so they could roll it back with Lloyd and think that with strength on both sides of him that it'll free him up a little bit and help him get out of the doldrums that he had last year. I mean, if you remember, he got hurt and we never saw him again, and it was Lloyd that referenced the fact that he was healthy and it was essentially a healthy scratch for a number of games to finish out the season. So different regime, different coaching staff. The center position is one that I'm really paying attention to. I'd love to see a Connor McGovern come back to Denver.
That's who I was going to bring up.
And I to your point, Glenn, I mean, I think everything's on the table, because, and we're kind of like nearing a little bit of like that dry period now of free agency. And so it's like, you don't know what's certainly going to become free agency wise, because at that point, like, especially like I'll throw out a name for center that I've been banging the table a little bit, for, and that would be Ben Jones, right? Like Ben Jones, if you're going to be kind of like in this window of being aggressive in a way, but like, in bolstering that offensive line, Ben Jones would make a lot of sense. But also like, if you were wanting to kind of have it be within a window, you could sign into a 1 to 2 year deal and go kind of bring back a pound the table method that Mike wanted to go with last year, which was maybe draft your center in the early rounds. Maybe you sign a Ben Jones or you sign a Connor McGovern, but it's like maybe you go and you draft your center in the early rounds. So like if you go get a Ben Jones, that'll at least open the avenue for you, as far as getting that kind of center. But I mean, I kind of wanted Cam Jurgens, admittedly. Yeah, so.
So the thing about Ben Jones is I believe he has a concussion history, and that's one of the reasons why the Titans had let him go. So I don't know how serious that is, but I'm sure that does play a part in the fact that he's not on any roster at the moment.
I don't know how anybody could say, listen, maybe it's just like the film part. Like I love watching offensive line. I realize, like it might to some people be like watching golf, how like, golf on TV can easily make, people fall asleep, which is, that's a person's preference. But I mean, like if I'm watching offensive line stuff, I just eat it up. Like I absolutely love watching, offensive line play.
Yeah, I watch highlights. I don't watch tape. So I probably would be there with you with that degeneration.
When I say tape, obviously I mean like the film study that you see on YouTube. Like that's
right. Yeah.
So let's go into the running side of the offense. First things first, we signed fullback Michael Burton. He comes over from the Chiefs. Yes. And then running back, listen, I'm going to try to say his name right.
How do you?
If not, I'm just going to say pork rind like I normally do. Samaje Perine.
Perfect.
It's perfect.
I love this guy. I love this guy. I'm so psyched about this. And I saw it was funny. The DNVR guys have gotten roasted a little bit for not grading this signing as highly as I would. But I mean, just watch the way he has performed against Kansas City, and man, it's powerful. He's an incredible blocker and pass protection. I'm excited. I mean, he's not a lead back, but we've talked about it before. This is a league that's now, really survives on tandem running backs, and there's a lot of uncertainty about Javonte, I should say. I'm sorry. And
Bill.
I channeled my inner Bill, except I have the old logo on my hat. I mean, we hear of George Payton saying Javonte is going to be ready for the beginning of the season, and literally, I don't know anybody that is in agreement with that. Even people that we have no knowledge of the behind the scenes stuff, but it just seems so unlikely. No matter how much we believe in him. So
that begs the question. With Samaje Perine being basically, as of now, the lead back in the backfield because Chase Edmonds is gone, Mike Boone's gone, Javonte Williams is injured, Latavius Murray's gone. Do we go after Latavius Murray? Do we go after another back that can split with Perine? Do we go with don't kill me for saying it, but a Zeke or somebody along those lines? Like there's only so many options in free agency before you have to go look in the draft. So are we going free agency running back? Or are we going draft running back?
It's hard to say because I mean, like this is a front office, meaning George Payton, but like this is a front office that has very clearly prioritized the running back position, or at least been very aggressive with the running back position. So I don't think you can certainly rule it out, that they're going to sign another back, and it's not going to sit well with Broncos country. But I mean, with, having a running back coach being attached to this player, he wasn't just attached to David Montgomery, who signed with the Detroit Lions, but he was also attached to Kareem Hunt. And I know that name is not going to, sit well with Broncos country given his off the field history, but I mean, he's a player that profiles as far as a receiving back, and he's a little bit explosive out of the backfield, which is something that, Sean Payton might actually want out of the backfield and within the offense. But it also could, trigger that maybe the Broncos are going to go to the draft, potentially for their guy. Or if you look at it just from the standpoint of maybe they understand Latavius Murray's market and they know that, hey, let's get through the draft first, and then let's go draft a guy out of the draft, and we'll come back and sign you. The one thing that kind of puts me on as far as caution on Murray is just actually it was Frankie Abbott at Frankie Films that said it, but it's like Samaje Perine and Latavius Murray are kind of stylistically the same. So, as much as I love Latavius and I would love to have him back, is there really a need to kind of have almost the same kind of back in that backfield? So.
But is Samaje Perine your power back, or do we need to go get the power back? Because like Javonte Williams, right? Javonte Williams is your power back. He's the one that's going to run it up the middle, one cut.
He's your balanced back.
So if you're looking at a power running game, which is what you're looking at with the changes we had to adding a fullback and bringing in the offensive lineman we're bringing in, and especially with the tight ends we brought in, the blocking tight ends, you're looking for a power back, right? If that's not Latavius Murray, who's at what, 6'4", 240 pounds, like who are we looking for?
It's Samaje Perine.
Okay.
Because can it be both? Like I'm surprised Latavius was not signed. I mean, he desperately he does. No, he's not. He's unsigned. He's still.
Is he pricing himself out? Is that what this is? Like as like a 32-year-old back, is he pricing himself out?
I have not heard that. I'd be shocked. I mean, who knows? But that he did not look his age last year. He did not look tired. He looked like a team leader. He loved the clubhouse, the locker room, I should say. And the guy fit in so well and wants to come back. I mean, we saw that at the Super Bowl when he was talking to Sean Payton. So we'll see what happens. But man, I would love to check that box because it's going to be what, $2 million. I mean,
as I was telling Cam backstage, I go off on tangents a lot. I'm going to go off on a little one right now. There is no one on this planet that can tell me that David Montgomery is better than Jamal Williams. No, it doesn't make sense. I don't like that Denver didn't sign Jamal Williams either.
So did you see the David Montgomery press conference? No, you didn't. You saw the Jamal Williams one because that guy's interesting and he's hilarious. Like Montgomery is a dud. But I agree with you. He basically alluded to the fact
13 touchdowns last year is what Jamal Williams had.
13.
17.
No, it was 13. 17?
No.
Even worse.
He had like more touchdowns
Why
than
would you
Broncos.
let him go?
And they lowballed him.
Yeah. I think the thing that makes it fascinating even too with Samaje Perine is I really think that, and this may have gone to Degeneration's point with Perine with the 3 weeks of 13, 14, and 15. But like if Javonte is, say, not fully healthy, Perine has at least shown the capability to be a temporary back, a temporary lead back for a period of time. And he's also shown that he can be a really nice receiving back out of the backfield. And frankly, I think that might be a little bit of his underrated trait for him. And so I think that Perine, he's probably, I think I said it before, but he's probably my most under the radar favorite signing of this entire period, just because I think that there's a little bit more that he can offer. And look, he's not like, the, if we're going to go back a little ways with Sean Payton, like he's not the Darren Sproles, he's not like the, those kind of athletic backs, but like he offers at least some sort of, decent enough athleticism out of the backfield that'll kind of surprise you a little bit. I mean, Glenn mentioned the Kansas City Chiefs game. I mean, go talk about the Kansas City Chiefs game, or go call up the Kansas City Chiefs game. Like, there were a few times where it looked like the Chiefs kind of had him in the backfield or had him stopped, and he just blew right past it. And I don't remember who said it, but if Javonte is healthy, good luck stopping that duo of Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine out of the backfield. Good luck stopping that backfield, because I mean, like, they will literally run you to a pulp.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to some more. Let's just go tight end, since I already talked about tight end. Chris Manhertz. He joins the Broncos. Chris Manhertz. Man, it hurts. Is he more of a receiving tight end or a blocking tight end?
Oh, blocking by far. Blocking by far. I mean, they call him a sixth lineman, basically. So, I mean, he was there to he's there to power the running game.
His last name alone should give you the idea that he's definitely a blocking tight end, because man, it hurts when he's blocking you.
I guess we can go with that. No, so I did have one more question, kind of separate, but we're starting to get a lot of people talking about how the Broncos are going to have that power running game, and how does that compare with what Sean Payton did with Drew Brees? Like, Drew Brees had a streak of like 4 seasons where he threw for 5,000 or more yards. Mm-hmm. Are we still going to get that with what the Broncos are building with Russell Wilson with the power running game? Or is it going to be more of a balanced running game, passing game combination?
It's hard to say. But I would say, with the way things are being shaped up in this offseason, that they're probably going to be shaping it with the way, talk about a true flashback, but the way that Russell Wilson was at the University of Wisconsin. I mean, like, it's just a true, just run you over, rushing attack. I mean, if you go look at the rushing attack that he had at Wisconsin, I mean, he had Monte Ball, Melvin Gordon, and I think he had James White, so I mean, like, right. It was a all-time, rushing backfield there at Wisconsin. And so, like, and especially, like, it was a pro-style offense. And so I think that, like, they're trying to kind of get to this point of, like, what can he be comfortable with in a true rushing attack, and getting him off of that play action and stuff off of that, which we know works well with Russ. I think it's just, it's just how can they be able to, make it so successful. But they are very clearly, wanting to be a very big running team. And so, but we all know that Sean Payton's definitely a brilliant mind. And so, I mean, like, he very well could see the Russ Cook aspect of it, and maybe he throws for 5,000 yards. I don't know, but the way that we're seeing this in free agency is not the case.
See, I think they're lining it up for a balanced attack, Mike. And, that was the one thing that really was not on the table last year for the Broncos, due to the injuries, due to Melvin with his turnover issues and then getting dumped. It
was balanced. It was just poorly balanced.
Well, that's the problem is one of the things with a power run game is that you're also keeping the opponents off the field too. So, it's when we have Justin Herbert and more importantly, a Patrick Mahomes in the division, it's nice to be able to win the, the possession battle. So I think I do see that Russ is going to, if he's able to get things going as personally, I expect, I think he's going to have a lot of good stats up there, and the offensive line is going to be the main reason.
Yeah.
And I do agree with that. Yeah.
So obviously one of the biggest losses the Broncos suffered this offseason is Draymond Jones is no longer with the Broncos. He is now on the Seattle Seahawks. And I think it stings a little bit more because it's the Seahawks. If it was any other team other than like the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Chargers, I'd be okay with it. But Seattle, it just stings more because they're jerks. And I hate that.
What's weird is when he signed, I didn't even feel bad about it. Like, he just seemed bitter at the end. It was clear he could say that, he didn't have anything against the team, but then you hear the comments and just the, using terms like drama and things like that. Just, just go ahead. Give me some Zach Allen. I'm good.
Peace. Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Zach Allen is the one that comes over to replace Draymond Jones. 3 years, $45.75 million, $32.5 million guaranteed. And I love the fact that we're sitting here like $32.5 million guaranteed. I could live on $32.5 forever.
We all could. Yeah, we all could. I think that, and even with Draymond Jones, like, he can peel it back and say that, he loves the city of Denver and stuff like that. But again, it's a lot of the ways that Noah Fant was kind of operating. Like, you can like tweets all you want, but when you're liking tweets, it sure on the exterior feels like you are not wanted and that you want out of an organization that you were a part of for so many years, or X amount of years, and especially when your most likely replacement is a guy that the defensive coordinator probably wanted, I mean, like, and a guy that was very comfortable with him. And when you go and you look at Zach Allen and you go look at, how he compared with as far as a run defender and being like in the top upper echelon of players with a run stuff rate. I mean, he's clearly coming in with already a chip on his shoulder. He's already got J.J. Watt, future Hall of Famer J.J. Watt in his corner. And, like, we're talking about a player that, like, he adds sacks to his resume, and I know sacks are a glorified stat, but I mean, like, he had sacks to it. He also adds pass deflections. He had 8 pass deflections in 13 games with the Arizona Cardinals, which is like a half a sack if you quantify it, pretty much. And so, like, ideally, like, he's already coming off a great season. Now, you certainly hope that big deal will launch into something more. Like, that's kind of what you always hope. But I mean, like, very clearly, he is going to transition quite well.
And just citing that he was upset that Vaughn got traded and that Chubb got traded. And I mean, listen, I love Von Miller, but that was an incredible deal that the Broncos got for him. Coming off an injury, able to get a couple high picks, a couple second day picks for him, just, and then trading Chubb. Chubb is a guy that I can't even count how many times I was seeing that Broncos screwed up and overlooked Josh Allen for this guy who's always injured. He sucks, blah, 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 blah. And then the moment he's traded and then signed to a $20 million a year deal, which boggles my mind, is all of a sudden it's, this guy is like the second coming of Lawrence Taylor. And quite honestly, we wouldn't have Sean Payton here, presumably, if we didn't trade Bradley Chubb. I mean, that was a great deal again. So Draymond, I'm sorry you're personally bummed out that your friends aren't there. And
how it goes.
Like, that's what happens, man.
Sorry,
I think Vaughn landed on his feet. He won a Super Bowl, and now he has a massive.
I mean, you kind of knew that coming into the NFL, right? Like,
Well, and I think I will say this. Admittedly, I was a little bit surprised to see a little bit of a small deal that he received with the Seahawks. Like, I was a little bit, I was a little bit surprised to see like that small of a deal. But again, like we're still kind of talking about it to where it was like, okay, it's basically a wash now. Like, you got Zach Allen for $15 million a year. Draymond Jones goes for the amount that he did in Seattle. I mean, it's pretty much a wash at this point.
Yeah.
Bingo.
And then so it's not really a new signing. He's a player that was on the team last year, and I'm so excited he's back because it keeps the Smash Brothers together.
Yes.
Alex Singleton re-signed 3 years, $18 million, $9 million guaranteed. Yes.
I'm so thrilled for this guy. I mean, just a hard worker, a cool dude, meshed with Josie. I mean, this guy had 162 sacks and, in 3/4 of a season, essentially. Sacks would be really, sacks would be incredible.
We got
that would be
deal.
That might be Pro Bowl.
Just a little bit.
Pro Bowl.
But I mean, he's a potential 200 tackle player this year,
Yeah.
and that's like Randy Gradishar numbers. I mean, I'm so happy for Singleton. I just love his energy on and off the field. Any interview that you get a chance to see him, and he just looks like somebody you'd like to spend time with. So I just so happy.
It's funny you say that, Glenn, about an interview, because if we could, mention another podcast on here, that he was interviewed on the DNVR Broncos podcast.
How dare you.
But like, if you guys get a chance, check out that interview that he did with DNVR. It is a fantastic interview because you actually do gain a lot of insight a little bit as far as like what went on in the whole contract process and stuff like that. And, I think that, here's a guy that he was waiting for that opportunity to get that. Now I realize like the 3-year, $18 million deal isn't exactly like a big deal, but like for Alex Singleton, who has been wanting like that moment for him where he can have that stability and he can be there a little bit long term, like that's a big deal for a guy like that. And so to see the season that he had and coming from Canada, he was even interviewed in a Calgary Flames jersey, by the way, but he was even interviewed and he just talked so much about, how much he loved the city of Denver and the state of Colorado. And like, he wanted to be there. I liked his response when he said, on the DNVR Broncos podcast, when he saw I think he saw like his first deal. He didn't get into it, but he even saw like his first deal and he's like, okay, sign that. But then like a second deal came through and he's like, oh crap. Yeah. like it was just like, he was so blown away. And I think when you saw like the consistent deals of linebackers getting 3 for 18, I think you kind of saw the measuring stick for what Singleton was going to be getting, Broncos or not. And so, but yeah, definitely happy for him. Definitely happy he's meshing with Josie again for one more year.
Yeah,
a nice tidbit to that signing. I'm sorry, Mike. It was that he got some extra money as a result. There was interest from another team, and that was the Carolina Panthers. Evero wanted him. So that was an interesting little tidbit.
Who's the other linebacker that was injured last year?
Jonas Griffith.
That's okay. So are you thinking? Back. Are you thinking with the new contract we're going to see more Jewell and Singleton?
Yes.
Or is it still going to be Jonas Griffith as the main guy with Singleton coming in?
No. It's Jewell and Singleton, the Bash brothers. Yeah.
Griffin is great depth. I will say though, it probably wouldn't hurt to go into the draft and maybe look in finding, a linebacker because, even though we love Josie Jewell, and by the way, if we weren't talking about Alex Singleton and the season that he had, we would be talking about Josie Jewell and the year he had.
Yep.
Because that was a career year for Josie Jewell. And so I think that, it would at least be smart to consider all your options and look at the linebacker position just in case, the Bash Bros, are, unfortunately separated and they have to move on from Josie. So I think that, it would at least be smart to at least look at that position. Maybe they go out and they go get his Iowa Hawkeyes teammate.
Honey Bear stays forever.
And get Jack Campbell from Iowa.
Now, I will say this, and one thing that was, I think, was a little overlooked, like over the last couple seasons, we've had nothing but injuries at inside linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Singleton was there the entire season. He may have been out for a half or out for a quarter or missed a little bit here, but he was, for the most part, uninjured the entire season. And I think that is what's more exciting for me, is like we finally have someone that is a stalwart at inside linebacker, doesn't have injury issues, is a consistent tackler. He's the one that you can build that around.
I have a feeling we're going to be seeing some 49 jerseys in the crowd this year. I think there's going to be quite a bit.
And on the podcast, mine's on the way.
Isn't it funny though? Like here we were, and we've mentioned it a few times, but like here's a guy who was admittedly he was struggling in preseason. And like, he was kind of like on the bubble in the preseason and is he going to make the team? Well, he contributes on special teams. He forces a huge fumble against the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was probably one of the biggest special teams play we've ever seen in the last, help me out here, like maybe 3 years, 4 years, as far as like a
What
big
were you
special
saying? I
team.
wasn't paying attention. What now?
Yeah,
Extreme close up.
but I mean, again, like we're talking about a guy that just completely balled out. I mean, from week one to a guy that was really doubted after preseason and just play with his hair on fire.
Yeah. And then the final two, the newest two signings for the Broncos, before they get into, I'm assuming, the second wave of free agency. Is it Tremon Smith? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tremon. Okay. Tremon Smith is a corner. Where did he come from?
Receiver, actually. Houston.
They've got him as a corner.
He's a corner.
Yeah. He can play both, but yeah,
Corner.
he's.
And then punter Riley Dixon.
Well, let me just go back to Tremont. Albright has said that may turn out to be one of the best signings of the free agency for the Broncos.
Yeah, that's kind of like K'Wan Williams last year. Like, kind of underrated signing, but then he crushed it during the season. Same thing with Damari Mathis. Like, underrated draft pick, crushed it during the season.
And Tremont is a great special teamer too. So.
Yeah. That's a move that makes you, and Montreal Washington obviously has been a part of our show, but he's a player that is, that might be on notice, in year two, and he's a player that this signing of Tremon Smith might, push him a little bit, and so it'll be really interesting to see, what becomes of it, because we all know that there's that old adage, sometimes the coaching staff wants their guys, and Sean Payton didn't draft a Montreal Washington. Payton did, but but I mean, yeah, you just never know. And I know that Albright didn't even mention too with Montreal Washington that maybe he's in line for a position change, like at halfback. So,
ooh.
Well, they Albright said that there had been discussions.
Like rotating?
No, like a Darren Sproles type of role.
Yeah.
But there have been discussions. There's nothing obviously.
Okay, so are we talking like Darren Sproles or like Deebo Samuel, where he goes between running back and
dude? Montreal's little, man. He can't.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely tattooed.
Now, as we come to the end of the free agent signings, I do, as speaking for the MHRT network, as fans of the Denver Broncos, I do want to thank every player that is currently playing and every player that was just released from the Broncos. We thank you for everything you sacrificed for the Broncos and for the game that we love to watch. So we appreciate you, and we hope you success in whatever you do, unless you're playing against the Broncos. And then, but we do thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything you did for the Broncos.
I said I wasn't going to cry.
I don't know how to segue out of that, but
love you, Dalton.
Looking at the Draymond. No, I'm kidding.
Seriously though,
looking at,
I'm not. I was so turned off after that radio interview.
Looking at free agency in the NFL, is there any other team that has improved more than the Broncos in free agency?
Yes.
Who?
The Carolina Panthers.
I knew you were going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how can you not say the Carolina Panthers? But the Carolina Panthers,
and you can't really shy at the Giants either. The Giants have gotten pretty good.
Chicago Bears typically don't make good moves, but in free agency, but they're short up their defense a little bit here.
I actually am on the fence that the Giants, like, they literally signed their own guys. So how could you say that they got better? I mean, like, except for like a few moves here and there.
Just brought in, who did
they brought in,
make me look.
Well, they brought in a few players, but like for a vast majority of what they did, they kind of signed their own guys. But obviously with the Aaron Rodgers,
Cam, I feel like you brought up the Panthers just to remind Mike that the Broncos missed out on Adam Thielen. Is that fair to say?
Yes. That is all my prerogative. Exactly.
Paris Campbell, Darren Waller. There you go. Bobby Okereke. That's a good one.
Say that 10 times fast.
Bobby Oker, Ricky, Bobby Oker, Ricky, Bobby Oker, Ricky, Bobby. No, you get about 4 and then you're done.
Well, and you'd be remiss to obviously if the trade can go down, but the Jets got better. The Texans actually got better. I mean, if you actually look at what the Texans have been doing, they've been kind of getting some sneaky moves. Obviously, signing Dalton Schultz in.
That's your new word, I think.
I like
that's your word of the month.
Yeah, maybe the word of the year.
It's only March. Oh, God.
Yeah. But they get Dalton Schultz to stay in state and play with basically your in-state rival, and for like a prove it deal, if you will. They go out and get Devin Singletary. So I mean, like they've made some moves, and obviously we know they're going to take a quarterback. The
Lions upgraded a lot.
The Lions, the Lions is definitely one, especially with David Montgomery and Cam Sutton.
David Montgomery. You've got Emmanuel Mosley, Cameron Sutton, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, C.J. Moore. Woo-hoo.
Yep. And that C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I mean, that's one of those that people expected him to be making a lot more money. So when that deal went down and it was worth $8 million with $6.5 million guaranteed on a 1-year deal, which I think is interesting that it's not a fully guaranteed 1-year deal. It's like, what is potentially going to happen? I mean, that's for a guy that was just in the Super Bowl and from what I understand, turned down an offer from the Eagles because he thought he could get more on the open market. And that reminds me of Dalton Schultz. The guy turned down $36 million 3-year contract and he got 1 year, $9 million. I mean, we talk about it like it's chump change, but when you look at like what he turned down to get a 1-year deal, it's makes the rest of free agency very, very interesting because both of those players just signed within recent days. So with all the guys still out there, it'll be very, very interesting to see where the price tags go from there.
Yeah, on the flip side of with the C.J. Gardner-Johnson stuff, like maybe that's one of the reasons why the Eagles were trying so hard to sign some of their own guys. But it's like, I don't know about you guys, but it feels like the Eagles actually got worse. Like
they lost a lot.
They kind of lost a lot. They did. And
two coordinators.
They lost their offensive and defensive coordinators. So yeah.
Right. And then you lose C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you lose Isaac Seumalo, Miles Sanders goes to the Carolina Panthers. So I mean, Zach Pascal goes to the Arizona Cardinals, and as we said, they lost coordinators. The Rams got worse.
Did you say Hargraves too?
Raiders got worse. The Packers are awful.
Yeah. So I mean, like,
no Aaron Rodgers. Now what?
Actually, the someone in our From the Orange chat said this, so I'll give him credit. But like, he's pretty much the entire NFC North got better, except for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah,
the Vikings didn't get better, did they?
Well, because Rodgers is leaving, Glenn. Because Rodgers is leaving.
Gotcha. Gotcha. They're just gonna slide up, whoever was below them.
Right.
Little Tetris action.
Yeah.
Well, they got Marcus Davenport. Other than that, no.
Well, they re-signed Madison, which he was a guy that we all liked.
Yeah.
Garrett Bradbury at center. That was a good one.
Now
that was a shocking re-up.
Oh, who saw Derek Carr to the Saints? That's a good fit, right?
I think it's a great signing.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have to give up anything.
It's definitely clear, that this was the move for Carr. But I think it was interesting that, he was very interested in some of these teams, but he ends up going to the team that they were having trade discussions with. And, and so he goes to the Saints. And we were even talking about Michael Thomas, right, as an option for wide receiver. And Carr recruits him basically back to the Saints. So I'm definitely curious about it. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what becomes of them, because you obviously know that there's the connection between he and Dennis Allen, right? And so there was very obviously a connection there. with like the Jets, you weren't kind of sure, like you were kind of going into like a fresh start, if you will. So clearly, you know, Carr wanted to go into some familiar situation.
Him sticking it to the Raiders when he went through the whole audition of going there and, you know, spending 2 days with New Orleans, giving the impression that that they were going to negotiate a trade deal and he wouldn't waive his no trade clause. Like, that ranks up there with Lovie Smith, knowing he's going to get dumped by the Texans, so he wins that last game so they don't get the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
I love that. And what's interesting is Carr then got a no trade clause from the Saints. I don't know how he got that one, but I'm happy for the guy. He seems like a decent guy. If the Broncos had been looking for a quarterback and Derek Carr was available, I would have grabbed him in a heartbeat.
Now, obviously, since Glenn is here and he chimed in on one of my comments about this, it's probably worth at least clarifying this, that who knows what's going to happen after this, but maybe the Chargers got worse. Because, like, you know, with this whole thing about Austin Eckler and everything that's certainly transpiring with Austin Eckler. Now, granted, we're not trading for Austin Eckler, by the way. Full disclosure, we're not trading for Austin Eckler.
Nor would they trade him to us.
Yeah,
so
exactly. But, like, if something happens with Eckler where he is traded, I think there's a fair argument. Obviously, they have Justin Herbert, but, like, there is a fair argument that Eckler is their entire offense. And if they move on from Eckler, then the Chargers got worse of any team within that division.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to answer Kamani's question.
You can't text and do a podcast at the same time?
Well, I'm reading who
he's looking up.
So the Patriots signed James Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Gesicki. That's a good one. Calvin Anderson, Riley Reif.
Shout out Calvin Anderson, by the way.
Those are probably the big ones. So yeah, I'd say they got better.
They were a team that was on Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, what is going on with that?
When is that going to go away?
The Broncos are asking for at least a first-round pick for Jerry Jeudy. And it just came out earlier today, like with Albright was saying it, that the Browns are still in on Jerry Jeudy, but they don't have a first-round pick in the next 2 years. So how are they still in?
Unless they offer multiple seconds, you know, but maybe I don't know.
So let's say they offer a player. Who would be comparable to Jerry Jeudy that it would even be worth making the trade?
My opinion, it would have to be Greg Newsome, the corner, or Nick Chubb. That'd
be good.
It's funny. We mentioned the DNVR guys, and they all of a sudden thought about Chubb as like they were totally against trading Jeudy. They're like, "Ooh, Nick Chubb's a game changer. Like, he'd be the best running back." Cam, what were you saying about Nick?
No offense, Jerry Jeudy. No offense.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know, like that. Those are like the only two players, you know. I mean, like, because I don't really want David Njoku, like, and especially with the whole tight end room, and you know, what is an offensive lineman trade maybe appealing? I mean, that's kind of weird that an offensive lineman would be like a part of a trade like that. But I mean, like, it's really Greg Newsome and Nick Chubb, really. But. And the thing with Jerry Jeudy and just Jerry Jeudy specifically is like these suitors and everything are dwindling fast. Like the Giants, I'm still kind of wondering about the Giants, even though they re-signed Sterling Shepard and they basically like re-signed their entire wide receiving corps. So like nothing's changed except for Paris Campbell. That wide receiving corps maintains the same. So I'm kind of curious a little bit about them still. But I mean, Patriots went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster. Giants signed Paris.
He's not
Campbell.
a first. He's not a. He's not a wide receiver one. Juju.
Right.
No, he's a wide receiver too. But do the Chiefs even have a wide receiver one?
No. Juju's on the Pats.
I know, but I'm saying like looking at the Chiefs, where Juju just came from.
No,
did they even have a wide receiver?
Yes,
one?
They did. It was Travis Kelce.
I was just going to say.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but
because the Pats do.
It's so true.
But like his options are dwindling, and like logistically, probably like the only option that's available is the Browns. But you said it, Glenn. Like they don't have a first round pick. And so like if they want to get truly greedy and give us like multiple second round picks or something, or a second round and a player, and that player being Nick Chubb, maybe, Denzel Ward or Greg Newsome, like that's about the only appealing thing that you're ever going to get with this, And so I don't know. I just hope that the Broncos can shut all of this up, pick up his 5th-year option, and move on with our lives. Because it's the thing that's just still fascinating to me though is like, obviously Tua got his 5th-year option. So what's waiting? Why are we waiting so long to pick up his 5th-year option? That's kind of like where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I know it's the responsibility of the general manager to field calls, no matter who the player is. And some calls may be very, very short, and some may be a little bit longer. But I don't understand how Jerry has become such a polarizing figure that, based on the last few games of last year, you don't think that it would be wise to keep him as Tim Patrick is coming back. And all these changes are being made to try to get Russ back into to where he had been. So
yeah.
It'd be interesting. I mean, and we talk about Jerry, but Cortland is just the same way. It's you look at what the Cowboys gave the Texans for Brandon Cooks, and a 5th and a 6th. So as the people are calling about Cortland, what are they offering for him? I mean, and does it?
Right.
Why would it make sense to get rid of a guy that is a steady wide receiver? I know he hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns in recent years, and hasn't been the same since that injury. But man, who are you going to get in the 4th round or the 5th round that would be better than Cortland Sutton?
Or even Jerry Jeudy.
And don't get me wrong, like I am still under the belief that Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Jerry Jeudy could be the best receiving trio in the NFL, hands down. I don't think I still believe that. Whether it's going to happen or not, I still believe it could be. I've lost a little bit of faith in KJ Hamler, not because of skill, just because he's injured all the time. And it sucks, and I feel bad for him. But I still would like to go into this year seeing how Sean Payton with Russell Wilson can pair with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Tim Patrick. Well, I think that's going to be your big 3.
And to your point, one of the biggest reasons why it will vault itself is probably being one of the best in the NFL is because Jerry Jeudy fits that Sean Payton offense like a glove.
Yeah.
And if he can be able to do what he can in space and everything that Payton can operate within him in space, you're going to be talking about a Pro Bowl season for Jerry Jeudy and in a huge year. And so if they do pick up his 5th-year option, you're not having we will let this guy walk conversation. We need to sign this guy ASAP. Yeah. And because his market is only going to go up even more from like 16 to 18 million a year to 20 to 25 million a year because of the whole market, in fluctuation that happened with Tyreek Hill and et cetera. But as far as KJ Hamler, Benjamin Albright, shout out him tweeting, favorite of mine, biased favorite of mine last night. But he said that, a player to keep in mind is Trey Palmer from the University of Nebraska. I mean, but it's like,
I've said that like 7 times.
It only took 53 minutes for Cam to mention Trey Palmer. So there you go.
No, listen, Trey Palmer makes perfect sense. He really Trey Palmer is like that Deebo Samuel type player.
No, he is not. Stop.
You shut your mouth. Yes, he is.
He is not a Deebo Samuel, but like he has.
Keep Deebo's name out of your.
See, but the thing is, I can't slap him. I can probably virtually slap him, but I can't walk across and slap him across the face. But he's definitely.
Trey Palmer can be what we thought Montrell would be.
Okay, but again, Trey Palmer.
I'm just trying to get a rise out of something.
Palmer is above 6 feet, like
Deebo.
No, but like we're talking about a player that can run a 4.3. I mean, 4.33. He ran the fastest at the combine of all the wide receivers. He has strong hands. He's actually a pretty underrated route runner. And I said it before, and I said it last night, but it's like when he was in LSU, he was underneath Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. And that carries a lot of weight, and he was used at kickoff return and punt returns, so you could use him at that special teams. And depending on if they want to use Tremon Smith as like a punt returner and then Palmer as a kickoff returner, it just depends on how they want to utilize it. But like, he's a guy that like you could even groom within this unproven wide receiving room, and it's a good wide receiver room, but it's also unproven. You could groom him to be that guy, you know, long term. And Palmer's not just the guy here that we should probably keep an eye on. Like Jalen Reed is one to probably keep an eye on. Obviously, Tank Dell, you know, is one that you probably want to keep an eye on. So it's not just Palmer. So I at least have to come across as unbiased, at least somewhat.
Oh, I'm biased.
You're not. It's not working. It's not working. So Cam, where do you think the Broncos, if they pick Palmer, what round would they, what pick would they have to use?
I've seen kind of it a little bit all over the map, but like I've seen from like the 3rd to 4th round, which funny enough, the Broncos actually have, you know, that 3rd round pick. But like I can see
two of them,
yeah, I can see that. I can see a team. I can see a team, not the Broncos, but I can see a team being aggressive and getting a guy like that, because when you have that kind of 40 time, it kind of catches your eye a little bit, you know?
Well, that's one of those. So I'm Glenn, Cam, you know, I'm not that big on the draft. I don't know all of the players. I don't pay that much of attention.
You should.
But like with Cam Jurgens and with Trey Palmer, I got excited because I know that they're players that can help the Broncos, and they're within
position of need. Yeah.
Like Trey Palmer is within reach. We have the draft pick to be able to get him. Like he's not a 1st round pick that I'm hoping falls to the 4th. Like he is a 3rd, 4th round pick that we could logistically get. It was the same thing with Cam Jurgens last year. We needed a center. He's a really good center, and he was within reach.
Well, and it's the same. So like say this trade happens. Say a trade happens where the Broncos acquire a 2nd round pick and they acquire like a high 2nd round pick. Well, then you're talking about, you know, some of these other prospects, like, you know, a wide receiver, like maybe like a Landers or something like that, like from Arkansas, or just, you know, like just some of these prospects that are like going to be 2nd rounders, and, you know, or maybe even if you're within that range to get Gibbs from Alabama. I still doubt it, but it's like, you know, you could probably even get a running back within that. So I don't know. Like it's just it's such an interesting case, because it's like Trey Palmer isn't the only deep threat within this class. Like that's the thing, is like you may fall in love with Palmer, but you may not get Palmer. So you may have someone else in mind.
Yeah. Chase Claypool got a 2nd round pick. He had 300 yards last year. Marquise Brown got a 1st round pick. He had 600 yards. DJ Moore, I believe, had 800 trade value 1st round pick. And if George Payton cannot get at least a 2nd round pick for Cortland Sutton, he's fired.
Also,
but like at this point, is Cortland worth a 2nd round pick? Like you have to look at what he's done since
that's where he was drafted.
Is he worth a 2nd round pick at this point? And I think the answer is no. I don't think that you could get a 2nd round pick for Cortland Sutton.
Well, it's still
no
offense. It's still
no. We love Cortland. I got his jersey right behind me. There it is.
I'm just saying, like if you look at the players you could get for a 2nd round pick, I don't think Cortland is one of them right now, because he's still unproven. Like we keep harping on that, but you have to look at the offensive coordinators that we've had to deal with Cortland Sutton. Pat Shurmur, Nathaniel Hackett were awful for Cortland Sutton.
But, you know, along the same lines of Jared Jeudy, it's the same argument for Cortland Sutton. The suitors are dwindling. The suitors are dwindling. And even DeAndre Hopkins. Like I know that the report came in today from me and Rappaport that things are ramping up with DeAndre Hopkins. But like, see but the thing that kind of puts cool water on all this whole wide receiver talk is just this fact that, you know, I don't know if you guys caught it, but like Mike Kliss did confirm they were heavily interested in Alan Lazard and Adam Thielen. So
that would have been awesome.
So I mean, like, so that's the thing that like kind of like puts it in a back seat a little bit, because it's like, well, gee, what's going on here? Because like obviously the suitors are dwindling, but yet the Broncos are very aggressive. It still seems, with, you know, the minimal cap space that they have. And by the way, cap space is a myth. It's all cash over cap any day of the week. But like, so I don't think it's out of the question with the way that they've been aggressive wise that they might kick the tires on a DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility with the way they've been aggressive on guys like that.
Yeah. So that's going to.
I'd rather have Nick Chubb than DeAndre Hopkins. Quite honestly.
Oh, me too. Without even a question. Now, I do think that I would be a little more upset if we lost Judy than if we lost Sutton. Like, I love Sutton.
Agree.
He's been on the team longer, and I love Cortland Sutton, but I'd be a little more upset if we lost Judy than if we lost Sutton.
Yeah, agree. I agree. And it makes you wonder if he himself is starting to kind of see the writing on the wall. We know about the tweet that he said.
Or Judy?
Court. With the tweet that he had about a week and a half ago.
He just wants to go where he feels appreciated.
Where he wants to go where he feels appreciated. And again, we're talking about a guy, Cortland, who has definitely struggled, but is about as humble a leader as they come. Like, he is a humble leader and a captain. And he doesn't really speak his mind all that often as far as how he's feeling. Like, and it's the first time that we've actually, peeled back the curtain a little bit and seen frustration with him. And so if he's tweeting that he wants to feel appreciated, he's starting to hear the news a little bit and hear the rumors.
So Cortland, 64 receptions, 829, 2 touchdowns. You could add a few extra yards for the play that he was robbed when he got called for offensive interference. But man, I really want to see Patrick, Court, and Judy.
Yeah, get them all together
healthy and just doing their thing. We've not seen that.
And even a system that works for them. Like,
right.
I can't harp enough at like how bad Pat Shurmur and Nathaniel Hackett were for the offense in general. Like,
oh my gosh.
Granted, Russ was awful last year, and a lot of that had to do with the scheme. But at the same time, like, Court didn't fit very well in what was going on. Judy didn't fit very well. But even with Judy not fitting well with Hackett, he was still open all the time.
Well, he's open all the time.
He's open all the time. That's why I'd be a little more upset if Judy was gone than if Court was gone.
I'd be upset with both.
I think at this point, Judy's number 1, Court's number 2. And so if you look at trading your number 2 receiver, I don't think you get a second. I think you get maybe a third.
I mean, KJ Hamler, 7 receptions for 165 yards in 7 games. I mean, just...
Hey, Mike, Cam, screw you, Glenn. He doesn't want to say hi to you.
Mama, dude. That Texas sun must be in the brain.
You've been gone for a few weeks, Glenn, and all of a sudden, people forget you.
Grief, man. It's hurtful. Yeah,
but
I'm just looking at some of the other stats, but
but again, I am with you guys because it's like, and it's the same argument we always had, even with like the running back room, and when we were at that point in time pro Melvin Gordon. But it's like, we want them to see like, them at full strength, and with Sean Payton at the helm, who we know is an offensive guru. We want to see them finally gel because we know this will be the first time, if they can have it happen, where we will get Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy, and maybe KJ Hamler on the field at the exact same time, which we've never. There we go. Bubba says, "Sup, Glenn?" There we go. Yeah, all is good in the neighborhood.
Glenn, it doesn't count.
After you're shamed into saying hello,
that's a fake one.
But yeah, so I mean, like, if we can finally get it,
it doesn't count.
Yeah, if we can finally get it and then evaluate after the season, then I'm cool.
Yeah. Anything else major we need to talk about? I think we covered it all.
There was actually
news,
some.
I mean, other than like the Raiders got worse, they suck, and we don't care.
Well, what was weird is there was a news break from Mike Liss about 15 minutes ago, and it said that Penn State QB and Rose Bowl MVP Sean Clifford had a 1-hour Zoom visit with Broncos QB coach Davis Webb today.
Interesting.
Are they the same age?
He stinks, by the way.
Same age.
You know what though? Is he actually has his own agency for like NIL deals for players, I think. Mm-hmm. Clifford. I think Clifford's got his own really successful business off the field. So
that's interesting. But he's also been there for like 25 years at Penn State, it feels like.
So D-Generation X, you weren't that far off. He had 829. So very, very good.
But yeah, I think, when you look at the AFC West in general, kind of as a closing thought, the Chiefs kind of stayed the same, didn't really upgrade,
Just
didn't
like
really
last year.
downgrade. The Chargers always busy in the offseason, and then they completely bomb in the regular season. So who really cares? And the Raiders, they added Garoppolo. He's not better than Carr. So
They added OJ Howard.
legitimately got worse.
OJ Howard.
They added OJ Howard, and they added Austin Hooper, I think, as well.
Right, but the biggest problem with the Raiders was the defense. They didn't add anybody.
No.
They did nothing on the defensive side of the ball. You know whose fault that is?
Just say Josh McDaniels.
McDaniels. Worst coach hire ever.
I love it.
Urban Meyer, Josh McDaniels.
Nathaniel Hackett.
But yeah, no, we definitely appreciate everybody joining us in the chat today. It was
thank you very much.
Blast. Bubba, Degeneration X. Boy, who else did I forget? Kamani, Sports Nonsense.
Avatar was here for a bit.
And Sports Nonsense is coming on momentarily.
Sports Nonsense is next. But
we do talk nonsense, by the way.
That basically covers everything Broncos. That's what a lot of the shows on the network is Broncos coverage. But if you don't want Broncos coverage, you can check out the Cluster Puck podcast on Mondays, and they do the Colorado Avalanche. Obviously, there's us on Tuesdays, Broncos. And then you have Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. They cover all sports, everything. Like today, they're talking about Colin Cowherd, what he said about Michael Jordan. Idiot. Then you've got, on Wednesdays, you've got the Wild Wild West, who not only covers the Broncos, they cover all the AFC West. And then our newest show, our other newest show, mainly Broncos, with Cam, Matty Moles, and Brandon. They're on right after the Wild Wild West. And then on Thursdays, our newest edition, which is an old friend coming back, Mr. Boggins and Pat Coyote, they brought the BPA show to the MHRT network. So if you have any draft questions or combine questions or pro day questions, that's the show to watch, because Mr. Boggins and Pat Coyote break down all of the players that are trying to move up into the NFL. So make sure you check live. So you can ask them questions, not videos, live. And then on Friday, the big letdown of the week is when you go to Broncos Breakdown with Bronco Bill, where he gives his old person perspective on football. So make sure you check that out. And then you got the neighborhood on the weekends. Random people jump in. It's a great time. We watch Avs games. We watch Broncos games. We're going to be doing a live stream of the first round of the draft when that happens. So everybody's invited to jump in. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, share it with your friends. Tell everybody about the MHRT network. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy being fans and talking with fans. So make sure you check out the MHRT network. And we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.